Welcome back, folks. I'm Deb and this is Brad, and we're Piney Grove. And we thought today while we were out here helping the folks and running Bella that we've got some new subscribers and we haven't introduced ourselves. So I'm Brad.
No, she's not Brad.
I'm Brad.
I'm Brad and she's Deb, and I'll turn the camera around and show you Bella. And there's Bella. Now Bella is our rescue Brittany Spaniel. We've had about a year, and she loves coming out on the property. But we got to keep tabs on her because they love to run and she'll run away. So if you see us distracted, that's what we're doing. But like Deb said, we haven't really formally introduced ourselves. We've had a YouTube channel. We've had one for a year or so, and we've thrown some little snippets. We've thrown some little snippets, some little snippets of who we are, but we've never really kind of explained. So again, I'm Brad, and to start with, I was born in New York, and recently we did a video of moving my folks into that house back there from Virginia to Florida. But before they were in Virginia, they were in New York. Lived in New York until we moved to a farm in Virginia. So my parents thought it was time to get out of the city in New York, and they weren't in New York City. They were in Long Island, and it was a pretty populated place, and it was growing, and they wanted to get away from all the things that I guess we're trying to get away from where we live on the coast of Florida, and move to somewhere more country. So they bought 212 acres, I don't know, somewhere around there, 200 acres. And they'd never really farmed before, although my dad grew up on a farm, but they hadn't farmed as adults, and they started making a living going from being, they owned a lumber company, and they went from that to having the farm. And of course, me being 6 years old, I followed along with them. So I grew up in Virginia on that 200-acre farm, and we showed that in the video just a few weeks ago that we posted. When we moved them from Virginia to here, we showed that farm and how it transformed from 200 acres of cropland into basically 5 acre subdivision, 5 acres per house subdivision. But I grew up there. I grew up in that house on that property, and hunting and fishing. I went to high school there, graduated high school there, and then I joined the Air Force when I was 17 years old. So that gets you from where I started to when I joined the Air Force, and we don't want this video to be too long, so I think we'll pass it over to Deb and let Deb talk about where she came from.
Oh, Deb's is much quicker. I was raised an Air Force brat. My father was in the military, and because of that, we were able to travel every 3 or 4 years growing up. We spent some time in Europe. We spent some time in Alaska. By the time I'm in a tour, 3 to 4 years, we went to California, and then we ended up here and in Florida.
Where's here? Okay.
In Florida. And when my dad retired, and he since moved on, and I stayed. So I later got a job working for the Air Force in a civilian capacity, and met this guy right here.
She skipped a lot of years there.
I did.
Let me switch arms and we'll get you caught up. We recaptured Bella. We got my arm rested a little bit, and I guess we'll dial it back a little bit. So grew up on that farm, and what it was mainly a cash crop type of farm, like vegetables, like cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, that type of stuff, kind of manual labor intensive. So, as a young boy growing up on a farm, and with parents that thought that children were good cheap labor, I spent a lot of time on tractors. I spent a lot of time moving irrigation pipe. I spent a lot of time with the different vehicles that we had. We'd run around the farm to pick the cucumbers and the peppers, taking them out to market, and then getting paid for them. And that's how we made our living. And then we also had a fruit stand or a garden stand or whatever you call it, where you, a fruit and vegetable stand where you sell things, right? So as a kid, we would pick crops in the morning, like sweet corn and all those vegetables. And on the weekends and in the summer, we would cart them up to the paved road. The paved road was about a mile or so away. And my parents had bought a 2-story house and had it moved several miles down to where our property met that paved road, and they made that house into what's called a general store. So at first it was just a fruit stand, so that's what I would do. I would pick corn. Like I couldn't tell you how many thousands of ears of corn, sweet corn I've picked and sold. and along with all the other vegetables. And that's what I did a lot, was just work the fields, and we would sell them for extra money. I guess not extra money for me, but for the family. And then in addition, we had the farm. And then I also did a lot of, I guess, hired out farm work, where I would go work for other farmers and drive their tractors and help them put in their crops and harvest their crops. And that's what I did after work and during the summer. And then also, we were in Virginia. It tended to get a little bit cold. We did a lot with firewood. So we had a 2-story drafty old farmhouse, and that was heated 100% with wood. And then we had a greenhouse that was heated with wood. We had a workshop that was heated with wood, and probably some other things that were heated wood. And in addition, I used to sell wood. I used to sell firewood on the side for gas money. So my childhood was spent doing a lot of things that you see me doing out here in Piney Grove, as far as working with tractors and stuff like that. But it's Florida, so we don't do a lot of firewood. So that's kind of my childhood, and it's probably what prepped me for the type of things which I didn't know at the time. Like, I was ready to get away from that lifestyle and join the Air Force and see the world and just do something different than farming. But here you see at Piney Grove, we're back on the farm. So life is kind of a full circle, I guess.
Well, I think their full circle came after we'd been together.
Well, hold on 1 second. My arm's getting tired. I'm going to go ahead and set up the tripod, and we're going to talk here for a minute.
Okay.
I don't know. My arm was pretty tired from doing that, but got it on a tripod, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, babe, but what were you saying?
I was going to say, I think he said it came full circle at Piney Grove, but it actually came sooner than that, because he'd quit hunting. He didn't have any farmland or anything. Obviously, he was in the service and he moved around. And then at one point in time, he got on a hunting lease. And when he got on that hunting lease, I think that childhood things that he really did enjoy kicked back in, because then they started food plotting, and then he had to have a tractor, and then they started doing it. And I think the things that he maybe didn't appreciate or like as a kid, because you got somebody telling you what to do, right? It's who he is, and it's what he truly does enjoy. He enjoys working with land. He enjoys his tractor. He enjoys hard work, and not everybody.
I enjoy Kubota tractors, by the way. Kubota tractors.
He enjoys Kubota tractors, but so I think this was a natural progression of what we would do after the lease, when we were trying to figure out, what are you going to do in retirement? Well, we're not sit around people, so this made sense. So yeah, your love of the land just came back full circle.
We seem to be talking about me a lot. You don't get to see a lot of Miss Piney Grove out here. She does do some cameos, and she does join us, but she's very busy taking care of things back home. When I say back home and where our house is, as I try to get the best I can Piney Grove prepared, but she'll be here more and more in the future. So let's hear from her. What was your childhood like? So you're an Air Force brat. You moved around a lot, and you ended up in Panama City, and you got married to someone else besides me. But she's not married to him anymore. She's married to me. But so in that, I don't know, that 8 to 16, 20 to whenever you got married, what did you do? What were your hobbies and interests?
Well, he had, I think, a cool childhood, and I'm sure is hard work, right? But as somebody who had no parts of that and enjoys this so much, it sounds like a Frank. Bella's chasing a bug.
She just ate a bug. Bella, I thought she got bit by a snake the way she was running, but she was chasing and she grabbed a bug out of the air and ate it. So we'll probably have to be paying for that later.
That's not going to be good. Sorry about that. So my childhood was more standard, I think. We rode bikes until, literally, it sounds corny, but we rode bikes until the streetlights came on, right? I mean, being a girl, we would sit and talk about boys and things like that. We did have some.
I didn't sit and talk about boys.
I did say being a girl. So it was more standard. I mean, we moved around every 3 or 4 years, so that was kind of tough. We had to reestablish and rebuild friends, but I attribute that to the person that I am, because I am pretty friendly. I don't mind talking to strangers. You're not supposed to. Children do not talk to strangers, but I talk to strangers. So
we cannot go in a grocery store and pick up something just quick in and out, because she'll run into somebody that looks like they want to talk, and 40 minutes later, while our ice cream's melting, she's talking and just made friends with some old man that was lonely. So that's a true story. This is what happens all the time.
This is true. Well, I figure if somebody is reaching out to me as a stranger, and they need a shoulder, so I'll give them my shoulder. But that's who I am, and I think that's why I am how I am. But we had some great opportunities while we lived in Europe. We would vacation, Switzerland and Spain and things like that because it was so close. I think that was wonderful. Then we came back to the States, and I was 17.
So before you came back to the States, yeah,
What?
I've always wanted to go to Alaska, and we watch a lot of Alaska shows.
Alaska.
And she was in Alaska, and I know, because I know her, that she doesn't like cold weather. So how was Alaska? What did you do in Alaska?
Do you know Alaska is amazing and beautiful? And I was a kid, I was young. But do you know your eyelashes will freeze and your hair will freeze? And I am so prone to frostbite. It's ridiculous.
Did you get frostbite?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I got frostbite. I didn't lose any digits or anything, thank the Lord. But
on the Iditarod? Were you on the Iditarod?
I wasn't able to ever run dogs, so I know it's shameful to have been to Alaska for 4 years.
I thought everyone did the Iditarod. Sorry, Alaskan people.
No, but it was beautiful, and it was, I think every place that we went to and every place that we lived and we visited was truly a blessing. And my children, but for my children, I wanted them to have a place to call home, and I wanted them to know people they went to kindergarten with. We didn't have that. You had that. The people that you went to school with, you know them now.
Yeah.
We moved so much that I don't know anybody that I knew as a kid.
But you know that guy at the grocery store.
I do, because he needed a shoulder. but it was a good childhood. It was just so different from yours. Mm-hmm. Whereas you had the farm and the community, and your parents have known people for 40 years. We didn't have that. My children had that, and my children are still friends with people that they had in kindergarten, and I think there's something very endearing about that. But I wouldn't trade my life or my childhood. I just wouldn't. So.
All right, guys. Well, that gets you from when we were babies until we were, I guess, young adults. Me joining the Air Force, and then her coming to Panama City. And I think we're going to leave it there. We don't want the video to get too long. But we want to kind of keep this going. We're going to, I think, call it like a porch series. And the only reason we didn't record it under our mega shed porch is because Bella was being a brat and she wanted to run the farm. And, we're out here. We're going to let her run the farm. She's not out here very often. But leave us a comment down below. Do you want to hear more about our story? I don't think that either one of us have an overly interesting story, but it is. Do you want
to hear about our boring life? We're here for you.
But it is our story, and it is how we got here to Piney Grove, and we'll weave some of that in and have porch talks and talk about, what we're going to do with Piney Grove going forward. So if you'd like to see that type of thing, or if there's something you'd like to know, put it down in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. But
that's a good one. If you have questions for us, let us know. I mean, we'll answer questions. We're all about that. I got a shoulder, see?
Up to a certain point, there's certain things we're not going to answer questions on. But you got anything else before we close this one out?
No, I think that's it. That's a little piece of who we are, and we must have wore Bella out because she came back. Yeah,
Bella came back, and we're happy about that because we used to have to leash her out here because we were scared we'd lose her. But now she's staying close, so that's good. She's growing up, and she's being a much more well-behaved dog, which is what we need out here. We don't want to lose our dog. Yeah. But so that's all we got. We appreciate you guys watching as always. If you would click that like button, it'll really help out our channel. But otherwise, until the next video, y'all take care out there.
Take care.